my YouTube channel, Chords and Notes. I wanted to take a moment today to review The Snows of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway. Produced by, I believe it's HarperCollins, and narrated by Mr. Charlton Heston. It's a short story that Mr. Hemingway wrote. I know he wrote a few of them. I've read several. In fact, I'm going to pick up some audiobook versions of them. Like I said before, I drive a lot, so it's much easier for me to read a book as an audiobook than as a printed version. But hopefully soon I can maybe read some short stories, printed versions, and do reviews on them. Anyways, The Snows of Kilimanjaro. It is a very short story. It's one compact disc, and it's about an hour in length. Mr. Heston, as most of you know, is a very accomplished actor, and his voice is, I think, perfect for this story, and I'm hoping that's why they chose him. But at any rate, he did a marvelous job. I've never heard anyone read a story quite like he has, and I wonder often how easy it is for him, how many takes he had to go through to get the final version, or if he just was able to do it in one, and just because he's that good. At any rate, the story itself is about a man who he's dying. It's his last few moments or hours on Earth, and basically most of the story is him reflecting on his past life. Not all of it, just certain parts. Hemingway chose the parts that would illustrate the type of individual this person was, and not necessarily the best individual in the world. He liked women, and he used them. He liked gambling. He liked drinking. He liked stories, writing stories, and he liked hunting. And as the story, or as the title betrays, it is in Africa, and Kilimanjaro, pretty much around that area. And he is. It was the slightest thing that caused his pending death, and in the story, in his mental meanderings about his past, his reflections, it seems like this individual did a lot of things, including fighting in wars. I'm not quite sure if it was World War I or if there were just when there were a lot of civil wars around that era in Europe. I do know that there were a lot of adventurers that would sign up. In fact, Hemingway himself, I believe, went and fought in the Spanish Civil War at the beginning of the 20th century. At any rate, I do think a lot of Hemingway was put into this character, just because of what I understand of Hemingway's adventures in past. A lot of it sounded very similar, and authors will do that. They'll draw off of their own personal experiences and put some of those experiences into their characters in order to make them more believable. One of the things that I really enjoy about Hemingway is his accessibility when it comes to language. His use of vernacular, his style of writing is just so plain and straightforward, and it is much closer to modern era writing, maybe even better. I would venture to say. I mean, it is Hemingway. He was around in the early 20th century writing, and you would think that the language would be a little bit more from that era, but it feels, well, it doesn't feel, but it sounds more geared towards this era. At any rate, that would be something when you do listen. I do highly recommend that you listen to this. Like I said, it's only an hour long. It's worth it. Rent it from the library. It's not going to cost you anything that way, and it's not going to cost you a lot of time. And it's very interesting. There's not much for plot. I mean, the man's dying, and he's having to face death. And that's the one thing that I think scared this man. Nothing else really did. But he embraced it in the end. And I like the ending. I won't spoil it. I think it was poetically crafted. Definitely a really good read or listen. And I highly recommend it. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars because I think it was short. I think there could have been more to it. That's just my personal opinion on that matter. But it's Hemingway. What can I say? The man is a master of his craft. He knows what he's doing. So, that being said, The Snows of Kilimanjaro. If you do get the audiobook version, get the version where Charlton Heston is narrating. It takes it to a whole different level. So thank you very much for listening or watching. And I would like to thank you very much for subscribing. Click that subscribe button and share and like. Have a great day.